I haven't seen it yet. This came out this week. Has Dragonflight actually sold poorly? The state of WoW in 2023. I have heard rumblings about the sales of the game, and that's not a knock on Dragonflight, honestly. It would be a knock on Shadowlands. Shadowlands was so bad, I think a lot of people just finally gave up. All right, they finally gave up. And if people give Dragonflight a chance, I've had people come into this stream. No, it's not a 47-minute Bellular video. It's 19, okay? People giving Dragonflight a chance. I've had people come into the stream and say, hey, I left WoW. Should I come back for Dragonflight? The answer is always yes. Dragonflight is actually a great expansion. I've been enjoying playing it. I think it's one that'll win people back into the game, but are people giving it a chance? Let's see what Bellular has to say about that. I don't know, honestly. I have not looked at the sales figures, and I'm interested to see.
Welcome back. All right, here's the deal. Blizzard
Welcome
haven't
back
released
to 2020.
anything, but
First Bellular video of 2023. Welcome back indeed.
quite a few of us are beginning to suspect that Dragonflight may not have sold as well as, say, Shadowlands. But this time, I'm actually not particularly worried about that. And it might sound a little insane, but that's actually where I'm at after taking in all that I can see online. Now, the next time that we'll see some hard data is, of course, the next Activision Blizzard earnings call. But even that will be rather vague. Now, I've already got our team working on a statistical analysis of Season 1 participation as compared to the past.
So they usually look at raid participation.
Apples to apples with some launch timings.
That's what Bellular's team usually does.
Which is great for the data. But while the team's working away at that, let's have a chat about what's going on. And today's sponsor.
Us and our newly revamped Patreon loot, which for the first time ever has got a journal. Yeah, we actually have a custom notebook for this month, which I'm super hype about.
I'm not gonna lie, as far as Patreons go, I've always felt like Bellular has one of the better ones in terms of the rewards that he gives his patrons. This stuff is actually cool.
To get these in, they look so goddamn awesome. So the lantern pin and
it's
some
all custom
really,
art.
really
They
cool
do this
art that
themselves.
is part of a special project. But yes, quite a lot of new things, and they will be, they'll be on our Patreon. So if you subscribe on our loot tier through the end of this month, you will get that, in addition to a bunch of other goodies too. You can check it out down below. Thanks for supporting us. Let's get to the video.
Okay, why am I suspicious? I mean, surely, given this channel's existence, I should really be a lot more on the side of, hey everyone, the game's going great, jump aboard, use my creator code. We don't have those.
No, I was going to say, what?
Piece of
I didn't think
evidence,
Blizzard gave those.
or suspicion number one, is the 30-day free game time promotion. Yeah, it was pretty simple, actually. Quite shortly after the expansion came out, they bundled in a free month of game time with it for new purchases. Certainly felt a little bit rough for some people who just missed out on that, but obviously it is them trying to sweeten the deal. It's an incentive to get people to come back to the game. Now, this idea of doing a sale very quickly after a game comes out or some sort of promotion is often kind of seen with games that struggle.
Could be an indication that it's struggling.
One of the things very critical is getting that, critical mass of users in your game. I mean, even take some of the more high-profile games that have had issues after launch, such as, say, the Battlefield franchise, where they've had decently deep discounts fairly shortly after launch.
I was honestly going to get Battlefield, and then it had so many issues I didn't end up getting it. But I will say, I don't feel... So I play on Area 52. The population's really good on that server. I don't feel like the game is lacking in population right now, but I will say it probably didn't explode as much as a typical expansion would. You know, we don't have queue times still or anything like that. It went down. Yeah, Area 52 is amazing. Yes, I transferred to the server for Dragonflight, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Is the population not as high as usual? Maybe. I don't know if the sale is an indication of that. It probably is an indication that they were trying to boost sales a little bit. But let's see what else he says.
Seeing this game time promotion, combined with one other thing, well, two other things, certainly had people a bit suspicious. And another one of those things is the Dragonflight free trial. Now, this is actually something that I think is a really, really good idea. Basically,
it is a good idea.
The trial would let you start a Drakthir Evoker,
let people get in
their intro zone, and through to the end of the Waking Shores at level 63. Pretty great. I'd say that maybe the Evoker's not the biggest draw for this expansion in the way that the Death Knight or the Demon Hunter perhaps were in the past, but I think it's a pretty good way to get people a slice
Anything
of
ever going to be as good as the
modern-ish
Death Knight?
World of
No.
Warcraft pretty quick. So a really good idea, but also something that to a lot of people just felt like, oh, why are you doing this promotion? Now, I would say that surely pulling off something like this would require a decent degree of planning internally. So it may actually be the case that they thought made the most sense to have the game come out. Maybe they felt quite strongly about the quality of the game, which I think would be fair enough.
Yep.
And then maybe they put this free trial in to try to get us players who are, the vanguard, who generally have had a good impression, be able to say to our friends, hey, you know what, this expansion's actually really good.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, look, they just announced the free trial. It's even better.
That does work.
You could see
I do
how
have
that would
friends who
make
have
a
not
degree
come
of
back, and convincing them to come back by saying it's free trial. Why don't you try it? That does work.
sense. Now, the other thing that's kind of a piece of evidence of maybe not the best sales in the universe is no big sales announcement post-launch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
No records
Whenever
broken or
Shadowlands came out,
anything.
Blizzard quite rapidly said that it had sold through 3.7 million copies.
Right, yeah.
And that's not day one sales, of course. That is day one sales and pre-orders combined into one thing.
Yeah.
They haven't done that this time round. Generally, the way that it goes in corporate communications is that if they bring your attention to something, that means it's really good.
It's
if
good,
they
yeah.
actively don't bring your attention to something,
True.
then, well, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
they don't want you to think about that as much. Another thing, then, that I should mention is lower Twitch viewers. Now,
What's
this
up,
is
Asherana?
one of those things that we can actually
Lower Twitch
use,
viewers.
because it does mirror
Hell
people
no.
actually having interest in the game. Now, there's a difference between Shadowlands and now. There's actually a few. As an example, the splitting out of the Twitch categories, because yes, classic is now a different Twitch category to modern. So that is one thing. However, when you
Is it
actually
still?
look
I
at
thought
the
they
number of
remerged
channels
them.
streaming World of Warcraft from these essentially like the little launch period between Shadowlands and
The launch
the-
period was pure
this
insanity.
expansion, you do find a similar amount of
giveaways and
views, but
everything.
it is lower for Dragonflight, and you find half the channels streaming the game, which
Oh, wow.
certainly is a little bit spooky, and a bit of a factor there undoubtedly can be the splitting out of categories on Twitch. But overall, when you combine that with
Half as many
all
people
the
are streaming
promotions
WoW
that
right
they've
now?
been running, other little tidbits like them recently
Twitch drops were one of the best things Blizzard ever did. I hope they do Twitch drops. Yeah, I hope so too. I hope with each raid launch and everything, they do Twitch drops, not because for selfish reasons that I stream. And honestly, it does bring people into the stream. It's a great way to do it and promote the game. But I don't know, I felt like it created like a sense of excitement in the community. Like everybody came in, new people came to Twitch, new people came to the game. I thought Twitch drops were a great promotional tool for Blizzard, and I hope they keep doing it throughout the expansion.
lowering the recruit a friend
I loved it.
Threshold to be it even includes an account which actually does have an active character. It's just now it's 1 year of lapsed time is now what somebody needs to be eligible. So it's just felt like if they've had a lever to drum up a little bit more interest in the game, they have pulled that lever. Then this is something we did in our New Year stream. Me and Matt just compared some very simple numbers, basically like how many first 10 days-ish kills of the first boss of Vault of the Incarnates have we had versus, say, the Nathria first boss, Shriek.
Well, yeah, what do those
And
numbers show?
The numbers there definitely surprised us
They're
in how they
down.
really did not look particularly good for Dragonflight, even though I think we would contend that it's a really quite excellent raid in an expansion that
It's
has
a great
started
raid.
off excellently, but it just made us think, God damn, that damage is done. So let's talk about that damage. I think the primary reason, and I think this lines up
I'm sure the player numbers are down in that, but could it also be that the holiday season kind of interfered with raid? I'm not sure. The timing of this expansion's raid is like, I don't know if this has ever happened where a raid opens right before the holidays, but that is how this one dropped. So the population's down, yeah, but maybe the holidays played a little role.
up with many things, it is that the perfect storm occurred
Halfway
for
to
Blizzard.
30 minutes.
I do think that in terms of its overall, you could say, sort of
pro
design
move.
quality,
Long
the
intros.
patch 9.1 is perhaps its worst patch ever. Now, you may look at many other patches and think, oh, that didn't really add a lot of content. Surely the Twitter patch is worse. But no, I think if you take a look at patch
9.1 was one of the worst patches ever.
Players, the broad design, that is essentially
Domination shards in 9.1.5. Oh my god.
People saw, okay, great, there's no artifact power anymore.
Very bad.
Then a whole host of new problems came in to eat up that space whenever Shadowlands came out, right? That also happened at the same time that,
yeah, they were horrendous.
There was many dramas that even went into the launch of Shadowlands. And then we see that their first major piece of
plan? Quick normal
does in fact still manage to have a lot of designs that very much do feel against the direction of player feedback.
Quick normal, then heroic.
At the same time as this, the dam bursts in terms of the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing's lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. I mean, can you imagine a worse lining up of things? To your average player who maybe hears a bit of the news,
bad, man.
The new patch comes out.
It was a perfect storm.
It's pretty lame. They go back to the maw. It just doesn't feel great to them.
God, man. Shadowlands was so dark and gray and shitty. That aesthetic got old real fast. Like, it's cool for a little zone or something, but an entire expansion that was gray and foggy. Oh my god, talk about depressing.
See all of these terrible things that have happened, some recent, some historic, at the company, and then they leave. Certainly, if I was to go by the anecdotal
was a purgatory,
side of things, that is when my entire guild stopped playing the game. So I think that was a real peak. And at the end of the day, in a large company like this, you got to look at when do they change? When did they change and what motivated that change? And I think it's very interesting that patch 9.1.5
probably a combination of competition and failure on their end.
Decided to start making the game a hell of a lot more friendly. And certainly after the fact, they keep on in interviews talking about 9.1.5 being the time where they changed their design directions, quite evidently early on enough in the Dragonflight development process to work in a bunch of that feedback to the game. And I think that's a large part of why Dragonflight is really a far more player-friendly expansion than what we've been used to. But ultimately, I think we have to expect the numbers going quite bad are what suddenly motivated that change in and around the time of 9.1.5. For a lot of people, then, that was it, They broke their WoW habit, and it's gone. The idea of goodwill being burnt as well. I think that is a fairly massive thing. WoW has had rough expansions, it's had bad times, but it's never had two in a row.
See, WoW is like, get ready for this analogy. WoW's like jerking off, right? It's hard to quit. But once things got so bad that people quit, and they got past that first week, 2 weeks, a month, right? Once they got past that barrier, they were gone. They were gone. And yes, they can get back into the habit of things, right? They can be pulled back in. You never know what triggers you. But once they're out and they've had that extension of time, once you break the habit, that's the hardest part. Once you're out, you're out. So people who left during Shadowlands, it's really hard to get them back in. It's possible, but I think Shadowlands, people reached a point where they were just like, you know what? I've been playing this game for so long, and I'm done. And once they were gone for a week or two, they were out. They were out of the system. They broke free, and they didn't need the game anymore. So anyone...
Not in a way as protracted.
That's how I see it. That's honestly how I see it. Shadowlands broke the WoW habit for a lot of people.
And that's especially the case when we're in an environment where there's really viable competition because there's so many damn games.
Yes.
Another thing,
the benefit of long intros, you don't misrate.
A little bit more to the modern times.
You can't quit me.
It doesn't feel like the Warcraft that they know, right? They see the cinematic trailer, and rather than some extremely high muscle mass orc who's full of sweat doing some big scream with an axe, the sort of, I like beer and heavy metal vibe, perhaps. kind of merging in some
Say
of
what
the
you want about
Frank
WoD. That was a
Frazetta
great
stuff
cinematic.
With, obviously he's pretty large inspiration for Samwise and Chris Metzen and all that stuff way back in the day. That's maybe the sort of vibe, feeling that got them into the Warcraft universe. And for a lot of those people, in the same way
Was he given the name Samwise at birth, or did he change his name? Because besides Lord of the Rings, that's the only time I've ever heard that name. Is that like a common name in some European countries like Ireland or Scotland or something? Am I being insensitive here? I don't know. I've just never heard Samwise besides Lord of the Rings.
Feel like that because of what Shadowlands' lore was like. Dragonflight, I think, is significantly more successful in its lore, and lots of it really is diving into the Warcraft mythos.
Dude, WoD cinematic
it really is
top.
in a way that I'm actually enjoying tremendously thus far. But for a lot of people, the marketing and public positioning of this expansion did not exactly reflect the core part of Warcraft that they have as a bit of a common touch point. Yes, Warlords of Draenor is a weird time travel expansion, but it was full Warcraft with its...
Yeah, it was.
I mean, not to say that just orcs, but its tone, right? Whereas you look at this,
Legion
and we are
and
diving
axes
really with
and
the
fucking
dragons
killing.
and material
That's
that
what
has
WoD
been
was.
expanded upon in like additional universe sort of places that most people aren't really aware of.
English half-wise,
Yes, people know there are
simple,
dragons in Warcraft,
Samwise.
but I really don't think the dragons have been the reason why people have came to World of Warcraft. Now, I think this expansion is presenting a good reason for that to change and portraying them in a way that I'm really enjoying, but for a lot of people,
What an
that
interesting
initial
meaning
feel
behind that
wasn't
name.
there. And that means that it's all going to come down to the wait and see effect. And this is where I bring up Mists of Pandaria. MoP's launch was kind of rough, right? I mean, there was the whole, oh, so many daily quests, what will I do? There was that whole thing. And there was also people who looked at it, rolled their eyes, and decided they wanted to have nothing to do with it.
I enjoyed
Yeah,
leveling
in
in
subscription
MoP.
numbers
I played
for
with my
Mists of
friends
Pandaria,
every
and
day
what
during
you
Mists of
actually
Pandaria.
find is that in the period of time after patch 5.2,
Yeah, the ending of
5.3,
MoP was better than the
5.4,
beginning.
the numbers actually bump up a little bit. And that was a time where the story was really pretty great. I
Man,
mean,
look
could
at
you
Wrath.
not
What the
watch
fuck?
patch 5.4
That's insanity.
launch trailer and think, fuck yeah, this looks like a really cool patch. I think even the people who were maybe a little bit confused about the inclusion of the Pandaren in this universe, they probably will have seen that patch trailer.
Garrosh
and thought,
was a cool
hey,
character.
That's Warcraft, man. I want some of that. So I do feel that for quite a few people, there's this wait and see effect. Some of that is about how much does this expansion really resonate with the Warcraft of old. I would say in some ways yes, in some ways no, and I want to see how they escalate things and if they can pull together a satisfying escalation of stakes. They certainly were not able to in Shadowlands, but when I look at the setup that they've actually woven here, I do think that they've got a pretty good chance. On the other side, of course, is waiting to see if the game mechanics are good. And thus far, I think we really
I think game mechanics have been great in Dragonflight.
Fundamentally, I think that is the reason why people have not, perhaps, came back to Warcraft in as super engaged a way as they had in the past, where, I mean, hey, look at the start of Warlords of Draenor, look at those subscribers spike way, way, way up. But the thing is that versus the past...
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't WoD the first expansion that offered the leveling boost? So people who had, like, fallen off here, right? They would have had to gain, like, 20 levels plus the 10 that were added in WoD. They would have been 30 levels behind. So I think WoD was the first one that offered... MoP had it? Really? Am I wrong? Mists of Pandaria had it too? Maybe I'm wrong. But at the very tail end... So first time boost had a level. Yeah, very end of it. Right. Okay, very end of MoP. But WoD was the first expansion that launched with a leveling boost. Like, if you pre-ordered the expansion, you got the leveling boost. So that, I think, was a big selling point for a lot of people to come back. I remember I had friends who hadn't played. They didn't play Mists of Pandaria. They left during Cataclysm, and they came back for WoD because of the leveling boost. And mind you, leveling was much harder back then. Like, Mists of Pandaria leveling was not easy. It was a grind, like much like how leveling used to be. So to catch up would have been hard for people. So I remember a lot of people came back and they were like, yeah, man, I'll boost. I'll get back in a while. I'll try it. And as far as marketing goes, I mean, they went all out for WoD. They had a fucking Gorehowl axe in a taxi cab in the center of New York City.
way up.
And
But
it
the
obviously
thing is,
paid off.
versus the past, as I said, WoW has died many times before, but it's never died twice in a row. And that's the bit that's got us. We've had 2 dud expansions, a bunch of meta context around that that's been rough, that combines in with an extremely competitive game sector where there are way, way, way more games out there.
Oh, yeah,
and
there's way
also
more games
there's the
now.
effect of new
Which is
media,
good.
right? Versus 2010 when it was just Total Biscuit, Jesse Cox, and a few people doing YouTube videos.
You and everyone
that were,
else, Condi. A
in
lot of
so
people
many
did.
ways a lot more simple than the whole ecosystem that exists now. Now we're in a stage where information spreads fast. Obviously, strident opinion tends to spread the fastest. And
The
you then have the
Patrick
strange thing is that updates to stories get far less coverage, right?
Yeah, it's way easier to
let's
level
just say
now,
we
that's
do
for
a
sure.
video. Let's just say there's a terrible issue in the game a few months ago, right? We do a video saying, hello, everyone. This is a very large issue. We think it should be fixed. And let's say it does get fixed 3 months down the line. And then we make the other video saying, great news, everyone. The thing's fixed. Look at that. They listened. Aren't we all happy? That latter video will get a hell of a lot less viewership. It'll get less engagement. And this is something that is an inherent problem with modern media. Because while you...
Negative sells, man. I always say that. I'm like, all these negative Nancy streamers and YouTubers and everything, they do it because the videos get views, man. Bitching and complaining about things, for some reason, people love to watch videos like that. I don't know what it is. They like controversy or something. I tend to not do it that much because I'm being honest. I play the game a lot because I like the game, so it's hard for me to bitch about the game. Now, I bitch about certain things in the game, but to call the game like a shit show or say that the game sucks, what a fucking hypocritical thing for me to say. I fucking put minimum 4 hours a day into this game. I have mental issues if I think the game sucks and I'm playing that much. So, but a lot of people do. Because that gets clicks, and clicks gets money.
Maybe if you watch like everything we do,
Misery
or if
loves
you
company. Yeah,
create
like
content
Asmund.
yourself, you
Yeah,
have in
I know
your head
Asmund loves the game, but he
complete
does bitch
picture
about
of
it a
what
lot.
you've made and what you think. But people, broadly speaking, will only really know what your opinion is via an extrapolation of the last time they engaged with it, which may not actually be up to date with that person's opinion.
Right.
Of course, this happens with content creators. It happens with news sites. It happens with person-to-person conversations.
True.
But all of it, I think, is getting a lot faster as the internet gets more and more and more engaging. And I do think that's led to an interesting position where they really, really do have their work cut out for them to kind of re-penetrate that side who's just completely bounced off the game. Now, when I think about moving forward, though, and I try to think, well, okay, the numbers are a bit lower, but why am I not worried about that? Because I'm not really that worried about that. Yes, it's clearly led to less views in videos and all of those things, and that can be a little bit stressful. But
isn't that sad? His channel does better when WoW sucks. That's sad. Like the guy can't talk good about the game.
That are, to the tune of, what is the team going to do? What are we going to cover? What are we going to make? The fact that we have that roadmap is a fairly major part in my decision making. I look at the roadmap and I think, okay, cool. They have a plan.
Look at that roadmap, man. Being like, oh, I want to print that shit out and hang it on my wall. That's a sexy ass roadmap. Patches are,
half of them are tiny. Well, I'd say, compare
people are too busy playing the game when it's good. Maybe Tidewell.
Action, look pretty damn
maybe
good.
that's the truth.
Features and content and being like, it's nothing. Well, I mean, yeah, they haven't announced what the features and content, is going to be, but I think that there is a reasonable baseline expectation when you look at that roadmap. It's that interesting thing of, are you willing to take them at face value in sort of good faith? At this stage, I am, because thus far they have actually been doing an excellent job of delivering in things. And I'm fairly confident that's going to include their roadmap. Of course, it'll really suck if I have to eat those words in 6 months. But
yeah, if they drop off.
Why live in a world where we have to second guess everything we do? It's not particularly fun. Also, I would say the end game is so much more approachable now than it was in the past.
It is.
I mean, the largest criticism one could possibly make is that it can, for a new player, be kind of disorienting. Where do I go? What do I do? There's a bunch that I could do. Right? There is that factor.
But there's a bunch you could do in Dragonflight, but there's less that you have to do. I think that's the key to this expansion. In Shadowlands, if a new player joined, holy shit, the grocery list of things they had to do to even think about queuing for a raid was insanity. Was pure insanity. Now there's a lot to do, but not much you have to do. Just get gear. Get gear and you'll get good. That's the core of Dragonflight.
Think about leveling
and
up
that should always be the core of World of Warcraft.
It actually feels like you can just go and do them in a way where I have not felt that in the past 2 expansions, or indeed in many parts of Legion. I think the game is actually poised to have one of its strongest periods as a game, like by far. I think the 10.0 is a better
anyone who
basis
says
for
there's
the game
nothing to
going
do
forward
is
than Legion was.
clearly not trying.
I think that while Legion was very cool, it did have a lot of content, I always thought its systems were pretty messy, even from the start. I got a lot of flack, during the testing of that expansion, or shortly after its launch, for criticizing some of those aspects. But I think that a lot of us who were suspicious over the fundamental designs of Legion, I think we were kind of proven right over the next 2 expansions.
Yeah, because they kept carrying them on.
And now I see foundations be well built. So ultimately then,
Dragonflight is a good foundation.
That this expansion is not seeing the numbers that Blizzard will have wanted. They have not been chest beating about an incredible number of, copies sold through because of this expansion topped Shadowlands. They would tell us about it, because as soon as Shadowlands
they would have said it.
They told us about that, and they
would have said it.
Very big announcement. I believe there was a similar announcement with BFA as well, so they've kept it on the hush. They've also ran a whole bunch of promotions. Add that to some of the preliminary data we've seen from Raid. It does actually look, everyone, like we're in a strange downturn. But I think it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
The fundamentals are there.
Content
just not
is
as
king.
Exciting to as many people. But
for both
like
streaming and gaming.
I do think that this.
So it's going to be okay, guys. Don't you worry.
So let me know then. What's your experience been? What's the experience of your guild been? Comments are down below. That's it for me. See you next time.
Great video. First video of 2023 from Bellular. And next, I've got about 3 more videos we're going to watch here. And then we're going to... Just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. We're going to raid right now, okay? Don't get your dicks in a bunch.